Hello, everyone, and welcome to BWIB's Technology Consulting Workshop. My name is Crystal, and I am currently the Technology Committee Director at Bruin Women in Business. I am here to teach you guys more about this career path and walk through what a typical technology case is like for you guys to understand and get a better sense of this niche area of consulting. When you guys think of consulting, it might just be management consulting or financial consulting, as those are probably the most common, or strategy consulting, that sort of thing. But technology consulting is a little bit more of a niche area where it really intersects your knowledge of both business and technology skills, and we are going to walk through all of that today. Please ignore this watermark at the bottom right here. That is not your computer, that is my computer, because fun fact, I do use Windows on my Mac, and that is why that is there, so we are just going to ignore that throughout the whole presentation. So moving on, BWIB is a part of BWIB. BWIB Tech is a part of BWIB, and we are a committee that focuses on helping women and enter into the tech world, whether that be within product or data or UX UI design, artificial intelligence, just general coding, software development. We try to focus on all areas of tech. Whatever our members are interested in, we will try to provide content and resources and opportunities within this field that they are interested in. So it does vary from time to time, but we try to keep all the fields even. If you guys do want to learn more, feel free to reach out to either me or our two managers, Lulu and Malik. Or if you feel more comfortable doing so, our member files, our committee folder in the Google Drive for BWIB is updated to this day. So all of the workshops and presentations that we have been sending out to our committee members throughout this year have been uploaded onto that file. So please feel free to check it out if you guys do want to learn more about BWIB Tech. Moving on. A letter from your director or from me. This is just an introduction to me and my personal goals, because I do want to work in technology consulting in the future. So I have been recruiting for it, and I have an understanding of what it is like to follow this career path. So if any of you are interested or want to learn more after this workshop, feel free to reach out to me through either like email or LinkedIn, or feel free to sign up for the technology series that we are going to have following this presentation. We're going to have workshops on like Tableau or Figma, coding, a bunch of other things, and you can find that form on the BWIB, on the latest BWIB email, or in the technology committee folder, and I will have your email that way. I can reach out to all of you guys, and then you can ask me questions afterwards. If you also want to get help for preparing a tech case interview, if this is a career path that you guys want to work on, feel free to reach out as well. I will be so happy to help you guys. Yeah, like BWIB Tech is very much a team. Our board is very much invested in our members, and we are willing to help you guys in whatever way we can. So, or if you just want to hear about my recruiting experience or anything at all, feel free to just reach out. This presentation also has a case at the end, and all the links and references will be at the very end, so you guys can look at more cases and learn more about this career path as well. So technology consulting, what is it? What do you do? What is the day-to-day like? For those of you who have no clue, here's like a good graphic that kind of covers everything. So as you guys may know, consulting is one of those words that is thrown everywhere and not many people know what it is. And essentially, consulting itself is just a career path where you're pulling your knowledge from all sorts of fields to better provide advice and solutions to clients. And so in terms of technology consulting, that is the same thing, where you're pulling your ideas just solely off of different areas of the tech field, just so you can provide more technical solutions to your clients. It's pretty important and valuable these days, as a lot of companies are moving forward with more technological business practices. So these are just some, like as you can see here, these are just some areas where, you know, a lot of businesses are looking at. You guys don't need to know things like what exactly is a cloud, or what exactly does artificial intelligence really mean. You don't really need to know that now, but it's a good idea to read up on all of these different areas of tech if you do want to go into this field. If you do end up um, getting hired into a full-time role as an analyst for technology consulting, you will most definitely learn on the job. You won't, I don't think you will be working in like more than one area at the same time. It varies on your project, but you will get a good sense at the end of like a very broad knowledge base on technology consulting. So what exactly is it? Technology consulting is essentially a career where it intersects business and technology, and you're working with clients to help them transform the way they use technology. So this can include, for example, if they're working with a database, which is going to be something that we are considering towards the end with our practice case. In terms of a database, so some things you guys might need to consider is the storage of that database. Is it easy to search up whatever information is on there? Are there filters for you to search up specific data from X year or Y year? How's the security of the database? Like, is it easy to hack into? What features are there to ensure the privacy of that data? So those are some things that you as a technology consultant have to consider when you're helping any client with some data related, you know, piece of technology. And it doesn't have to relate to data. There's a bunch of other things that are areas of tech that you will work with, but that's just an example. In terms of the knowledges you need to have, it is very, it varies. So sometimes you will have a more of a business-led role where you're just explaining the concepts and explaining the technology. Other times it is a little more technical in the sense that you might be building things. So here, like an end-to-end service, you're designing and developing, maybe a new technology or a personalized technology for that particular firm, and guiding them or telling them how to implement and manage it. So some things about technology consulting. These are some examples of some areas or some general areas that you might be working within. So risk management analysis, security consulting. These are just like fancy words to break down like what exactly is you will be doing for your client. And again, here, as you can see, it requires technical business and management skills, because as a technology consultant, not only do you need to be well read on the technologies at question, but you need to be able to properly explain those solutions and that advice. Because sometimes your clients that you're working with, you're introducing new technologies, like such as the one that you're designing, or you're just talking with clients that may not have as deep of an understanding of technology as you do. And it's very frustrating when you're just simply throwing out terms there. You do need to be able to explain everything in a concise and clear way. Moving on, why you should choose this career option. So again, it is the intersection of business and technology. For me, I am an econ major, but I am interested in technology, so this is a good way for me to work within the two fields, I suppose, if you could say. If you are of the same nature, again, this is a great career option. Or if you're very tech oriented, like you're a comp sci major or a computer science major, stats, or anything of the sort, but you don't necessarily want to be coding all day or be a software developer or designer or anything like super technical, and you want to work on the business side, this is another good option for you guys too. It's also great for those of you who don't know what area of tech you want to work in. So for me, like, I don't know if I want to work in product or data or AI or UX UI design. I have no clue. So for me, this is a way for me to explore all of these fields within like all the projects that they give you and figure out from there to see, you know, after tech consulting, what exactly like specific area of tech I want to work in. And that moves on to my next point here, where you are able to move on to more technical roles after. And this is because you are diversifying your knowledge base on um, other areas of tech as a technology consultant, which is pretty valuable when you move on to work in a more specific role because you can pull from your experiences from those projects and offer that or apply that to your next role. If you are one to keep up with technology trends, such as, you know, if you read TechCrunch or you have a bunch of newsletters or any of the sort, and you are really immersing yourself within the technology field, this is also a good way for you to apply that knowledge into your career, as you're not only working in one area of technology as a technology consultant, you're working in multiple fields or multiple like subfields, I suppose. So all that knowledge is very valuable. And you should be able to understand technology on a holistic sense in the world of business. So, for example, where are companies moving towards in terms of business practices, recognizing all the trends that such companies are implementing, whether that be business companies or tech companies or companies in general. Like everyone has some sort of technological factor that they're implementing at the moment, and it is good to recognize where the world is heading. If you don't have, oh, whoops, sorry. If you don't have a CS major to learn the technical skills, you don't need to. If you do want to work in tech, you don't need to be a comp sci major or any sort of technical major to go into this career field. Again, I'm an econ major, trying to go into tech, and yes, I'll admit it is harder, but you don't need to know it. You can learn these technical skills on your own. Again, this workshop series that we're presenting to you guys is an excellent opportunity for you guys to gain that technical skills that you need. So yeah, you don't need anything really at the moment. It's just if you do want to work in tech or just be a technology consultant specifically, we highly recommend that you start exposing yourself to a lot of technology fields and just the technology field in general, just to understand the lingo and the trends and everything. It's going to make things very easier if you decide to move forward with technology consulting or any other job within the tech field. So the tech case interview. When you apply for a typical technology consultant role, there's usually a resume drop here with transcripts, cover letters, behavioral interviews, and case interviews. So for those of you who are familiar with a consulting case interview, for example, like a market sizing interview, it's a little different. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll give you an example. Market sizing case that you will typically see in a management consulting type of role will be the Starbucks in Westwood. They want to open another location, possibly within the UCLA campus. It's not really going to happen. I'm just making this up, but as the interviewee, your job is to look at Starbucks's business as a whole and decide whether or not it's worth for them to make another location on campus. Like, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Why? Oftentimes you'll have to calculate numbers. Like for example, their revenue currently for their Westwood location is X number. It'll take Y cost to make the location on UCLA campus, about how many people are going to show up, what's the revenue from those people on the new location. You know, those are just some ideas that you have to take into consideration. But a tech case interview is different. Unlike management consulting, as you can see in this point, there's no calculations. You just need to come up with a qualitative recommendation for the client, and as long as you have proper reasoning to back up your recommendations, that's all you need. You don't need to calculate anything, or not really, you don't even need to provide super technical answers. As long as your reasoning is great, you are good to go. And why do we have a case interview along with a behavioral interview? It's a way for the firm who's recruiting to test your business and technology skills. Again, they do want to see what technology you're familiar with or what technical skills you have. But again, you don't need to necessarily have any of that, just at least an understanding. And they want to make sure that you're able to apply that knowledge and understanding in a way where when you explain it, it is very clear to someone who may not understand a word of anything when they are immersed in the tech field. So some tips and tricks from me, as I have been in the recruiting process for this. Be well read on technology trends. Like I said before, be sure you understand where the world is going and what firms or like what firms overall, like what technologies they're implementing, and just recognizing in general, if you can do more specific areas such as like trends within UX UI design or trends within data analytics, that's fantastic. But if you have no idea and you want to start out in immersing yourself in tech, just in general, read some newsletters, read some articles, and try to get a feel of where the world is going. Understand the software development process. Okay, this one is a little tricky because there are multiple types of software development processes out there. There are ones where firms want to have multiple iterations within a short time frame, or there is a process where you have to finish one stage before moving on to the next stage. And then the differences between the two, besides like the definition, is how much time and effort and money it will take to do this process versus this process. So there's a lot of different ones. It's agile and waterfall and a whole bunch of others. We do have a presentation on it in the tech committee folder on the BWIB drive if you guys want to read more about it. But it's a good understanding to know each of these processes because in a tech case interview, you will be most likely asked a question about the development process and how, or at least provide a recommendation on how to proceed, and you have to include some type of processes within your answer. Look at the whole picture and don't get caught up in details. So for that, it just means that usually in a case you are given some criteria to fulfill, and you shouldn't get caught up in those criteria, or like even further, when you ask for more information, you shouldn't say, or you shouldn't get caught up in the fact that, oh, the employees don't want change and they aren't comfortable moving on to a new software system, or just being really nitpicky. Again, you are trying to help. You have to act that you're helping your client as a whole, and you can't just base your answers and your recommendations off of one detail. You have to think about the whole picture and how it affects the firm, how it affects the customers, how it affects the financial aspects of the company with money going in and out. Yeah, look at the whole thing. Again, don't get caught up in the details. Always ask for more information or data about the client. So sometimes when you ask for more data, they won't give it to you and they'll just say, oh, all the data we have is in the prompt that you're given. But other times, you will have additional data. For example, you're given the situation and the prompt, but when you ask for more data, they'll give you more information about how old the software system is. Like, is it outdated, or did they recently update it within the last, I don't know, 3 years or so? Or what is the company culture like? Because that is also important when you're trying to explain to them, explain your answers. If they aren't very well trained in the technology that's at question, then you have to adapt your answers to that. You have to be able to better explain it for them to understand. And instead of understanding the situation, I would say understand the company as a whole. Provide a recommendation that balances finances and technology. So this one's very important because oftentimes in the moment you will get caught up in the technology aspect of the prompt and you will forget that there are the finance aspects. So with software development that I mentioned before, some processes cost a lot more than others, but there's also, not only are there costs, there's also returns that you have to consider, like which ones or what options and alternatives will help the client bring in more profit um, and cost less. You have to think of both tracks at the same time. And that also goes to question on both your business skills and your technology skills. It's not one or the other, it's a merging of both. Be confident when you're speaking. Sometimes you'll be given a prompt where you have no idea what anything is, but as long as you speak clearly and you present yourself in a manner where you can portray that you know what you're talking about, sometimes that's very valuable. Um, Even if you do know the answer and you are confident with your abilities, just in terms of presenting, you want to be very authoritative with your recommendations. Don't be pushy. That's not what I'm saying, but present yourself like you know what you're talking about, because your clients are there to trust you and your recommendations. So speak clearly, speak slowly if you want, because sometimes when you get nervous, you might speak fast, but it's all about the presentation. Talk through the problem and your thoughts. So this is a more general case trick here, but if you are new to casing, this is something that's very important because it shows the firm that you're recruiting for how you think and whether or not it's a fit for them or not. And if you're very thorough, that's a good sign, but sometimes you might like overthink something or underthink something. This is all to tell them more about you. And so it's really important for them to understand like your thought process and if you are someone they think can work in such an environment. Take notes on the case. So sometimes you might be given the prompt on a piece of paper that you can take notes on. Other times you can't, but you should have a Padfolio or scratch paper around. They won't provide it to you. You have to provide it for yourself and take some notes and organize your thoughts. Take some time. It's not a race. They are not timing you, and they're also there to help you. So do whatever you can that makes you feel comfortable to get to that recommendation. And remember, like I just mentioned, the interviewer is there to help you. So if there is something that you don't understand in terms of terminology, ask away. It should not affect the way that they think of you. It's more of that they would rather you ask them a question and clarify some things to provide the best answer you can rather than guessing. It helps. It helps you, okay? Okay, so now we are moving on to the case. This is a case that I have pulled from Deloitte's site. It is a data analytics case, and the client at question is called Top Engine. So we will be walking through this case. If you want more practice, there are more cases on the Deloitte site. I think there's about 4, so this is just one of the 4 that you can look through later. But yeah, I will be walking you guys through this case and what makes a good answer, what makes a bad answer. So here's the business situation. You can pause the video and read it through yourself. But I will just go ahead and summarize it. So essentially, Top Engine is a company that you're working with. If you are Deloitte, then you are working with this Top Engine company, and they are basically in charge of a project called Clear Sky. Something to keep in mind is that they have a revenue, which is mentioned here at the top, 85 billion, because since this is the company at question, you do have to understand how much money they have to implement whatever processes later on in the future. So here you can see that, if I can find my mouse, that they have quite a lot of money to spare. So that is something to keep in the back of the head. in terms of analyzing the situation, I don't think you, besides like the revenue, you really need to look at anything else. This is just to get you familiar with the situation at hand. And again, basically it's just saying you're working with Top Engine. There's a project called Clear Sky, and then there are other people and firms involved, but Top Engine is the main one that they are reporting to, and so that is the main company to keep in mind. Here is the actual problem, and here is where you need to really analyze the situation. So there are concerns about the reporting systems. Oh, again, you can stop this and read this through on your own, but I'm just going to go ahead and read through it and analyze it through it with everyone. So again, so here there's concerns about reporting systems. So, okay, you understand that there is some sort of system being at hand, and because we were told that it is a data case at the beginning, which may or may not happen in real life, but you have to recognize that. So the data system, there are some concerns. So that could mean like security concerns, or data not being like properly organized, or data not being able to be entered and updated like efficiently. Those are just some things that pop off of the top of my head. So there's just, that's something to go off of. But again, there's reporting systems. Okay, so there's contractors and Clear Sky projects that report back to Top Engine, so you do understand that the information is being transmitted from contractors and Top Engines. And right here in the second line, you can see that there is supply chain and financial information that's being put into these reporting systems. You don't really need to make a note of these two. I think the only thing that you need to take from it is that it is confidential and sensitive information that is being reported in the system, which is very important because this is a confidential project and you don't want this information leaking out to the public. However, today, quarterly financial statements are not balanced and multiple versions of the truth exist. So this just means that there is some sort of security issue within the reporting system where the data is not clear. There's nothing like set in stone, and they need to fix that. And yeah, manually reconciled each time, which means that they're spending a lot of effort, money, and into training people to manually fix all these iterations or incorrect iterations. And so something that they can work on is, removing this problem in the first place by making sure the reporting system is secure so that they don't need to spend that extra money and time on fixing this issue and put it elsewhere. The information gathered from all contractors must be used to support a number of key KPIs. Key performance indicators, that is a term that you guys will hear often in a tech case, and essentially it means it's a way to measure the success of a company or employees or projects or whatever it is. It's just a way to measure success. Yeah, nothing much here. It's just mainly like this area is the main information chunk that you need to keep in mind. And then essentially this is just saying that you do need to, there are like guidelines, I suppose, that you need to follow. So moving on. So question 1. In this particular case, they break these questions down into like question 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And in this particular question, it's multiple choice, but in an actual tech case, you will usually not have a breakdown of like question 1, question 2. It'll all be like 4 questions just listed there and you just have to go at it. But again, we are walking through this, so I've split everything up, and you often won't see a multiple choice question like this. If anything, you will have just the question and you will have to come up with these answer choices. So that is just something to keep in mind. So, okay, which key steps need to be taken to ensure success of the Clear Sky project? Development of a good data model, standardization of input data across all participating contractors, encryption for all data transmissions, or all answers are correct. You guys can pause the video and think it through, but essentially development of good data models. It's pretty self-explanatory that there's a solid way or solid system that the company is using to input their data in. Standardization of input data just means that everything's formatted the same, and which makes things easier to filter and find. Encryption is just a fancy security term, just means that everything is secure when the data is being sent back and forth. So the answer to this is D. All the answers are correct. And on the site, they provide explanations, and this explanation is a pretty thorough one, so I don't feel the need to elaborate on it, so you feel free to pause the video and read through it. Yeah, there's not much. It's just explaining why each choice is a good one, and from there we'll move on. They did a good job. I don't need to explain it more to you guys. You guys are smart. Question 2. What can Top Engine do to ensure the security of the project data? Because like we read in the problem statement, that they do currently have an issue with the data within their own company. So if a company has issues with their own financial data, how can they lead a project with more sensitive data from other firms and everything too? Like, how does that work? So what can they do? So a good answer may include encrypt all data, which means, again, security. Require multi-factor authentication, so two-step authentication. Another security measure. Password requirements, number of characters, special characters. If you guys don't know about password requirements, this is just a way, this is just a way to better prevent people from hacking in, as the more elaborate, I guess, with all these requirements, the more elaborate your password is, the harder it is to break into the system. And so when you're answering these questions and you're thinking these things through, you don't want to just list, oh, I want to encrypt everything, set password requirements. You don't want to just list all of this. You do want to explain it. And again, from a consulting perspective, if your client has no clue what multi-factor authentication is, or even how to go about it, or why they don't understand why they need password requirements, it's your job to explain it to them before they ask you about it. Because it can get frustrating if, for example, you're not there in person and you're sending these by email or so, and you're just given, oh, here's the answer without any explanation. In any case, anyone would be quite frustrated if they're trying to understand, but you're not letting them to. So a great answer will include a bit more detailed explanation. So invest in fraud management services to actively monitor suspicious network traffic and resolve security concerns. Something to consider with this answer is that takes time and money. And if you're outsourcing this, you have to consider that service, that company that provides that services, like their reputation and this and that. There's a lot of research that goes into that. But if you're talking about an internal service within your own company that requires money and time to train people and hire people, so that's something to consider. Data encrypt in transit and at rest. That just means that your data is secure when you're sending it back and forth and when it's just simply resting in the database. Store confidential data in private data server, not accessible to the outside public. This just means keep the data away from the public's eyes and keep encrypting it enough so that it is secure and all this confidential information is not leaked out. Just a fancy long way of saying that, essentially. Use transient data in application sessions rather than storing all information locally. So to break this down, transient data is just data created within an application setting and application session. And at the end of that session, it's discarded. It's not stored in the database. And for those of you who don't know what an application session is, it's just the time or like the period of, I guess, usage when someone interacts with an application. So essentially when you open an app, that activates your application settings or session, and the longer you spend on an app, that whole period that you spend is the application session. So transient data is just saying that all the information and data within that one session. If it's not important, it's discarded. It's not like everything that you do isn't stored anywhere for everyone to track in. If it's a large database or a small database, it's essentially you don't want, you want to filter the important information, and then you also want to not have all your eggs in one basket. 3, what data quality issues can occur and what can be done to mitigate them? So a good answer may include unstructured data, duplicate customer records, inaccurately translated data. Essentially, this just means like a bunch of data issues that can occur, and you have to specify all the data, all the issues, and then the solutions could be conducting thorough testing, providing authentication for all of them, mock conversions to make sure everything's up to date, invest in like a team to monitor everything. There's a lot of different answers that you can include, but again, like the last answer, you do want to be more in depth and in detail about these recommendations. So a great answer, this looks like a lot. Again, you can pause and read through it. Again, this is a little bit more detailed of what the last page just said. Data with skewed values, inaccurate data, issues, what the issues can result in, which is this sentence right here. That is a really good way to show your understanding of these issues and how it affects the company. So again, like I said, extra hours and extra time to fix everything and hire people to manage, loss of credibility in the system, loss of revenue, legal and compliance problems, that is a huge one. So to mitigate these issues, they should be properly trained, like I said before, but that also requires a lot of time and money. Conversion should be first tested with mock conversion runs just to make sure everything is smooth sailing, because technology fails us sometimes and you want to make sure everything works well. And everything should be analyzed before backing it up, so nothing no other company comes at our client saying, oh, this data is wrong and this data is wrong and you guys are trying to deceive us, and that's not what you want. So moving on, what key performance indicators for the project do you think could be used to evaluate project success? So like we saw in the project situation, there are some key performance indicators that we have to fulfill. Again, to review, it is KPIs are a way to measure success of something, whether that be the company, the project, etc. So here we're talking about the project success. So essentially, what requirements can you guys think of can show that this project is moving in the right direction? So again, with each question, feel free to pause it and think about it for a second, and then I will just move forward. Unfortunately, I'm not there to see you guys raise your hand and to interact with you guys, so I'll just move on. A good answer may include ROI based on project budget, and ROI is basically a return on investment. That's what it stands for, and it's just the gain or loss on investment relative to how much you invested. Number of project resources, allocation of resource time, ability to meet project deadlines and milestones. This last one is mainly for the software development process, as there are different stages that you have to complete, and this is just saying oh, how can you finish each stage, allocation of resource time and project resources. Again, that can include both services and people and time and money. There's a lot of resources you consider and that is why you want to be a bit more detailed with your answers. So although these are good points to make, you want something more like this, where in addition to talking about points that surround project management, something to also consider is the value that is earned to the client. So these include, along with previous answers. Timeliness of balanced financial statements, decreased data duplication, since you are working with multiple firms and they're sending a bunch of data back and forth. Accuracy of financial reporting, again, that was a big issue in the beginning, and that's something that you want to mitigate. So in essence, both the previous points and as well as these points are some good ways for you to check yourself and check the project to see if everything's going well. And I believe, yes, that concludes the end of that walkthrough of the case. That was a bit fast, just so this video doesn't end up being too long, but feel free to walk through a few more cases on the site or look up some more tech cases. If you want, you can always feel free to reach out to me or to the other managers about tech casing on your free time. I'd be happy to do it. I do know that the managers, at least on the tech committee right now, like Malik and Lulu, don't have the strongest knowledge base in this particular field, but if you do want to talk to them about, I know Malik's very knowledgeable on data specifically, and Lulu's very knowledgeable on a lot of coding languages. You guys can talk to them to increase your knowledge base on those fields. And here are just some references I have linked. And here is where I got the case from. And there are, again, I believe like 4 cases in total. So 3 more cases that you guys can go through that are, I believe, are about the same difficulty, if not a little harder. So yeah, these are all going to be on the site. This presentation will be on the site, so sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier. You guys didn't have to take notes, but yes, this will be on the Google Drive. So yeah, again, references for you guys and additional resources for you guys to read through and get a better idea of what it is to be a technology consultant if you want to learn more, or if there was something in this presentation that wasn't super clear for you, you can look it up either here or these references. So that is all from me, and I will see you guys in the following workshop series that we present. But thank you guys for taking the time and learning about technology consulting. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions. All right, I will end it here.